Hi everyone, this is a tutorial for my newest pattern, Chalkduster, and this is a sample right over here. As you can see, it's a really graphic print, and it's really not a difficult technique, but it's one that I haven't seen before, so I wanted to do a little tutorial so that I can make it really easy for you guys. So to achieve this look, you're going to be using two different yarns. You're going to have your main yarn, and in the pattern I call this a texture yarn, and this is a mohair and silk blend. And in the pattern you'll be actually using two strands of this together. There's a couple easy ways that you can achieve this. You can either take your skein and split it into two different balls, and then you can have one strand from each ball. Or if you cake it like this one, you can have a center pull like you do here, and then the strand from the outside, and you can just knit these two together. And that makes it really easy so that you're not managing three different balls at once, you just have the two that you're working with. So to achieve this look here, you're always going to be knitting with your main color yarn, and then sometimes you're going to also be knitting with these two strands of the mohair. And so it creates this really graphic look that, and it has this really wonderful halo that the mohair makes. And so the way I like to think about this is that it's kind of like, it's like color work, but it's not exactly like color work. So personally, when I do color work, I have my main yarn in my right hand and the contrast color in my left hand. And so in my left hand, this time I have the texture yarn. So in this pattern, the first thing I need to do here is I just need to knit 6 stitches with my main color yarn. So, you know, that's just the normal, that looks normal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now I need to knit 6 stitches with both the main yarn and the texture yarn. So how I do that is I have to use both yarns to knit with, and so I do it once with the main yarn and then once with the texture yarn, and then I'm able to pull it off of the left hand needle and move the stitch to the right hand needle. So it's really quite simple, but you just have to remember that you have to grab all 3 strands together to achieve that look. And one other thing that I really liked about this pattern is how inconsistent the mohair is really showing up. It really, oops, here comes Franklin. Sorry about that. Come on, Frank. I liked how inconsistent it was, and that's just a personal preference. If you wanted it to be consistent and show up the same way all the time, what you would want to do is on these stitches where you have both the main yarn and the texture yarn, you'd want them to line up exactly the same way. So like for instance, these 2 stitches is a good example, because the first you have your main yarn, and then you have the 2 strands of the texture yarn. Then you have the main yarn, and then 2 strands of the texture yarn. But this 3rd stitch will add a little bit of inconsistency, because you can see that the mohair split, and so you have one strand first, then you have the main yarn, and then you have the other strand of mohair. So that's going to add some of that inconsistent texture that you see there. And personally, I really like that, but if you don't like that, then you can lay them, make sure that they lay consistently, and then you'd get a more consistent look on your hat itself. So I'll show you a few more times how to achieve this stitch. So you just wrap them both together, and then you can take it off of your left hand needle. So there's 2, 4, 5, and whoops. And you can see I missed the mohair, so I'm taking it back to my left hand needle. And so, yeah, there we go. So now I have 2, 4, 6, great. And now next I have 6 stitches with just the main yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you do have to be cognizant of the tension of your mohair, because you are going to have floats that go behind your stitches, so you don't want to pull it too hard or the fabric will kind of cinch together. You just want to have that loose, so you can see there it's kind of loose, not too loose but not too tight. And this pattern is fairly forgiving if your stitches are loose, so I would go more on the loose side than the tight side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I really like to think of these stitches as like color work, but it's not exactly like color work because you never knit with just the mohair itself. You're always, when the mohair is there, you also have the main yarn as well. So as you can see, once you get going, this pattern's really easy, and you get this really beautiful and graphic result. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave questions in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to help. And I hope you enjoy the pattern. Thanks so much.